What's up, everyone? It is Diecastbuffet here again. Joey Logano wins at Texas. First win of the year for the 22 car. And hopefully that diecast is going to have a lot of confetti on it. And hopefully that AAA car actually gets made. In fact, I don't think they've actually made a AAA car in a couple of years for Joey Logano. So hopefully that does get produced. Of course, you can pre-order that diecast if you'd like. And you could use a promo code as well if you want to down in the description. Anyways, let's talk Texas. So, Texas 2025, very interesting race. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the current configuration, but for whatever reason, it puts on some pretty interesting Texas races. And in fact, hold on, check this out. Well, in the closing laps, I thought our little background color was gonna be this, because Michael McDowell was about to win. But instead, it's going to be this, with Joey Logano winning in the AAA car, which is mostly blue and white. The racing, what I've noticed, it was a clean air dominant racetrack today. If you had the lead, and as long as you weren't on like really bad tires, that you pretty much were set and sail. I mean, Larson out front, Hocevar out front, and then of course Logano going out front. If you had clean air, oh, you would have dominated. I'm pretty sure Tyler Reddick would have been an extremely dominant car if he could have just got ahead of Larson and stayed out front. So clean air was massive. You needed the track position. I mean, tip of the cap to Michael McDowell. Let me tell you, that man drove his guts out in the final closing laps at Texas. And what a story it would have been straight out of 2008 for him to get his third career win at the track that he had one of the worst crashes in NASCAR history. I mean, that COT flip was insane, right? It would have been amazing if he would have won this race, and he drove his guts out. I feel like his spotter, what was it, 4 or 5 laps to go, and Logano was about to pass him on the back straightaway. His spotter, I feel like, didn't let him know fast enough to jump down the bottom to just try to block Logano a little bit to maybe slow him up. And inevitably, Logano, I mean, literally just he went all the way down to the back straightaway apron, taking a big risk. There's been a lot of crashes over, 12 cautions, I think, today. There could have been some debris down there that could have cut someone's tire. They don't always clean up these racetracks perfectly, as we've seen. So a massive risk by Logano, and it paid off, made the pass. And Mikey, I mean, he got into clean air, as we already mentioned. And, man, but was it about a lap later? He got behind Ryan Blaney, lost all the air, and just crashed the car very hard, man. But, I mean, literally, amazing job by McDowell. So close. So close. I really hope he wins a race this year. That was so much fun to see him leading laps. I want to see him win. That was a lot of fun. Larson dominated most of the race. My pick today was going to be William Byron. I figured that Larson would be pretty good today. He did win the Xfinity race yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Truck race, a lot of fun. But I just felt like something was going to happen, and, it did. The moment he lost the lead, his car just tanked, bro. I mean, you have to have clean air at Texas in this configuration here. Another thing I want to mention is Kyle Busch. Again, I was watching the race, and early in the race, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen to the 8 car today? Guy got into like 2 or 3 cautions today. I feel horrible for Kyle Busch and his fans, man. I really do. I'm like, can this guy just catch a break? If it ain't the pit crew, if it ain't the crew chief, it ain't the people building slow race cars, it's Kyle making a mistake on the racetrack. They cannot get anything going. I honestly wish he would just go to a new team. I truly feel for his fans because he has a ton of fans. I know he's not the most likable driver, but it really is. It's hard to watch him struggle. And I want to see him get to a team that's competitive again, because I don't know what they're doing at Childress, but man, it's like, you look at the Spire cars, you look at the Hendrick cars. I mean, heck, even Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and they're all Chevrolet teams. And then you look at the 3 car and the 8 car, and I'm truly wondering, what are they doing half the time? So I don't know where he can go maybe next year to another team, but I really feel for you Kyle Busch fans. I'm a Hendrick guy. I'm not a Kyle Busch guy. I'm just going to keep it 100%. But I respect all the people who watch these videos, man. and I feel for you Kyle Busch fans because it's hard to watch him struggle. And I feel like a lot of the wrecks that he's been in, he's having to force the car. He's having to drive over the limit. And this Gen 7 car, the millisecond you go over that limit, there's no saving it. So, anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is the future of this racetrack and what could we possibly see. Today, I thought it was a pretty fun race. It had a lot of crashes, a lot of lead changes, a little too dependent on clean air. I feel like that's part of the racetrack problem. I don't think that's a Gen 7 problem because if you go too high in the corner, you spin out and wreck, which it does make it exciting. I'm not going to lie. Look, cautions create strategy, creates new leaders. It's part of it. I mean, heck, Josh Berry was leading. He had a realistic shot to win this race. His car was fast. He got in a crash while leading. So it does add a little bit of spice to the gumbo, but what is the true future of this racetrack? And I have two scenarios that I feel like are realistic with this, and I respect everyone's opinions on this. So the number one option that they could do in terms of, configuration is simply go back to the 2016 one. That's probably the most common one for the fans. I see everywhere people are like, we want the 2016 style configuration. That's fair, right? A lot of people seem to want that. The second one is the super speedway thing. There's a rumor out that's been out for a while that a 1.5 mile is due for a super speedway reconfiguration. Is it Texas? Is it Las Vegas? Is it Kansas? Is it Charlotte? I have no idea. I've heard it's Kansas. I can't confirm that. I've heard it's Texas. I can't confirm it. I have no idea. Maybe it's Kentucky. I don't know. That's the two options. Now, again, I respect everyone's opinions on this channel, but I do feel like they need to make a splash to get Texas Motor Speedway back to having 2 race dates a year. This was a track much like Atlanta that used to have 2 500-mile events every year. They had playoff races from 2005 all the way up to, 2023. They had a playoff race. Back then, it was the NASCAR chase for the Cup. So in order to get back to that, they're going to have to make a substantial change. And I feel like the diehard fans would be okay with the 2016 configuration. But to get the casual fan, that is going to be the challenging one, I feel like, for Texas Motor Speedway. Atlanta, they pretty much kept the configuration everyone liked. They didn't destroy the racetrack like Texas did. And they were losing fans every single year. They had one race date from 2011 to 2020, I think, or 2019, only one race date. What do? Turn it to a super speedway, and it's one of the best-selling racetracks on the schedule. So my point is, I feel like another option that could be under consideration, and that might help give this track some momentum to get 2 race dates again, which I do believe the demographic, it needs to be on the schedule. There is a lot of fans in that Texas, North Texas, Oklahoma region that need a racetrack. There's no other racetrack in that region. So I feel like it needs to be on the schedule. Is possibly reconfigure it to a high bank but traditional 1.5 mile. So go back to the 2016 configuration, jack it up 5 more degrees of banking. Make it the most fastest 1.5 mile on the schedule. You'll be able to market it. You'll be able to get a lot of commercials. The casual fans will see that and they'll be more interested in the racetrack rather than it just going back to what it was a decade ago. That's my honest take on there. I'm cool with either one, but I do agree 1,000% it's time to reconfigure it. They butchered 1 and 2 in 2017. They should have never done it. I remember seeing the announcement on NASCAR Race Hub. I think it was late 2016, early 2017, and I was like, this is so stupid. Sure enough, you go from having 2 500-mile race dates to having 1 400-mile race date, no playoff race. They used to have a standalone IndyCar weekend with the trucks that would show up as a companion event. So that's 3 race weekends they used to have a year. That's what I'm saying. They completely pushed off IndyCar from Texas Motor Speedway. It's an absolute failure. They need to reconfigure and make this track a destination again. Modernize it. Jack up the banking. Go back to the traditional format or make it a super speedway. Either way, they need to make changes to make this place really, really relevant again to the casual fans that you're trying to attract to these racetracks. The diehard fans are going to probably go regardless, but that's what they're trying to target. So, what do y'all think? Make sure to comment down below. And they could potentially make it a championship location in the future. That's another argument you could make. If they go super speedway, that might not mean they could ever run a championship race there. If they modernize the facility, if they ever decide maybe to run the championship maybe in mid-October instead of November 10th, give or take, the weather will be a little bit warmer. It potentially could host a championship race in the years to come, as all the rumors I'm hearing, they're going to be rotating the championships going forward for the time being. So Homestead, Las Vegas, maybe even Charlotte. If you modernize the facility, you keep it a traditional 1.5 mile, maybe in the future they move the championship race up a little bit. I don't know. It could mean warmer weather and allow them to do so. That's all for now. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what y'all thought about today's Texas race, the future of the racetrack. I'm curious to see y'all's opinions down there. I know a lot of people don't want to see it be a super speedway, and that's 100% understandable. I'm cool with either way. I really am. So comment down below. Have a blessed one. Diecastbuffet. Sign it off.